consent the call to be terminated.
Without objection.
I believe we're now on a motion to proceed to S3457. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I have a cloture motion to the desk I asked to have reported.
Clerk will report.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, hereby move to bring to a close the debate on the motion to proceed to Calendar 476, S3457, a bill to require the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to establish a Veterans Job Corps and for other purposes, signed by 17 senators as follows: Reed of Nevada, Kerry, Sanders, Conrad, Franken, Udall of New Mexico, Coons, Beckidge, Murray, Nelson of Florida, Klobuchar, Carper, Menendez, Webb, Gillibrand, Merkley, and Reed of Rhode Island.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the mandatory quorum under Rule 22 be waived and that the vote with respect to this motion occur at 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday, September 11th.
Without objection.
I now ask, Mr. President, consent that we proceed to pre-morning business. Senators allowed to speak for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that on Monday, September 10th at 5 p.m., the Senate proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 664, that there be 30 minutes of debate equally divided in the usual form, that upon the use or yielding back of that time, the Senate proceed to vote with no intervening action or debate on the nomination, that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table, there be no intervening action or debate, and no further motion be in order. Any related statements be printed in the record, and President Obama be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate then resume legislative session.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to executive session. We are in executive session, aren't we? Yes.
No, we are not.
We're not. Then I ask that we move to executive session to consider the following nominations: calendar number 450, 609, 709, 718, 719, 720, 723, 725. Let's see. Let's see. 720, 723, 825, 826, 827, 831, 837, 838, 841, 858, 859, 860, 861, 862, 863, 864, 865, 866, 867, 868, 869, 872, 874, then and all nominations are placed on the Secretary's desk in the Foreign Service.
Without
Excuse me, Mr. President. That the nomination be confirmed on block. The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate, and that no further motion be in order to any of the nominations. Any related statements be printed in the record, and that President Obama be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent the following nominations under the privileged section of the executive calendar be considered. President's nomination 1513, who is Ingrid Gregg of Michigan, to be on the Board of Trustees for the Harry S. Truman Scholarship Foundation. Presidential nominee 1514, James L. Henderson of Kentucky, Board of Trustees for the Harry S. Truman Scholarship Foundation. That the nomination be confirmed, the motion to reconsider be laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate, and no further motion be in order to the nomination. Any related statements be printed in the record, and that President Obama be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent. Homeland and Government Affairs Committee be discharged for the consideration of President's nomination 1731. Kimberly Knowles to be an Associate Judge at the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. That nomination be confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate. That no further motion be in order to the nomination. Any related statements be printed in the record, and the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Foreign Relations Committee discharge from further consideration of the President's nomination 826, James B. Cunningham of New York to be the ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. That the nomination be confirmed. The motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate, and no further motion be in order to the nomination. Any related statements be printed in the record that President Obama be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate then resume legislative session.
Say that number again.
The nomination, in case I misread it, Mr. President, is presidential nomination 826, James B. Cunningham.
1826.
Looks like 1826. Sorry, Mr. President.
Without objection.
I'm glad I got a little help. As in executive session, if the Senate adjourns under S. Con. Res. 59, I ask unanimous consent that all nominations received by the Senate during the 112th Congress second session remain in status quo, notwithstanding the provisions of Rule 31, paragraph 6 of the standing rules of the Senate, with the following exception: presidential nomination 1727.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to calendar number 458.
Clerk report.
Calendar number 458, H.R. 4240, an act to reauthorize the North Korean Human Rights Act of 2004 and for other purposes.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I further ask that the bill be read a third time and Senate proceed to vote on this passage of this bill.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The bill is agreed to.
Mr. President, I ask the Senate proceed to S. Con. Res. 58, a concurrent resolution to correct the enrollment of H.R. 4240, submitted earlier today by Senator Kerry, that the concurrent resolution be agreed to. The motion to reconsider be made and laid on the table with no intervening action or debate. Any statements related to this matter be printed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask we have the Judiciary Committee be discharged from further consideration of S. 3245 and that we forthwith proceed to its consideration.
Clerk report.
S. 3245, a bill to permanently reauthorize the EB-5 Regional Center Program and so forth.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent that a Leahy-Grassley substitute amendment, which at the desk be agreed to, the bill is meant to be read a third time passed, that a Leahy-Grassley amendment to the title, which at the desk be agreed to, the motion reconsider be laid on the table,
Without objection.
and that there be no intervening action or debate, and these statements related to this matter be placed in the record as if read.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to H.R. 1402.
Clerk report.
H.R. 1402, an act to authorize the architect of the Capitol to establish battery recharging stations and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the bill be read three times passed, the motion reconsider be laid on the table, there be no intervening action or debate, and any statements related to this matter be placed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent the Commerce Committee be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 3670.
Clerk report.
H.R. 3670, an act to require the Transportation Security Administration to comply with the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I further ask the bill be read a third time passed, the motion reconsider be laid on the table, there be no intervening action or debate, and any statements related to this matter be printed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask that we proceed to calendar number 432.
Clerk report.
Calendar number 432, Senate Resolution 402, condemning Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I further ask the committee reported amendment be withdrawn. The Coons substitute amendment, which is thus be agreed to, the resolution is amended be agreed to, the committee report amendment to the preamble be agreed to, the preamble is amended be agreed to, the committee report amendment to the title be agreed to, the motion reconsider be laid on the table, there be no intervening action or debate. Any statements related to this matter be printed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent the Armed Services Committee be discharged from further consideration of SRES 418.
Clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 418, commending the 80 brave men who became known as the Doolittle Tokyo Raiders, and so forth.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the Brown of Ohio substitute amendment, which at the desk be agreed to. The resolutions amendment be agreed to. The Brown of Ohio amendment to the preamble be agreed to. As the preamble as amended be agreed to. The Brown of Ohio title amendment, which at the desk be agreed to. The motion reconsider be laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate. And that if there are any statements in this matter, they be printed in the record at the appropriate place.
Without objection.
I now ask the Foreign Relations Committee be discharged from further consideration of SRES 524 and the Senate proceed to its consideration.
Clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 524, reaffirming the strong support of the United States for the 2002 Declaration of Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, and so forth, and for other purposes.
Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to. The Webb amendment to the preamble, which is the desk, be agreed to. The preamble is amended be agreed to. The motion reconsider be laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate. And any related statements be printed in the record as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed en bloc to the following resolutions: SRES 544, 545, 546, and 547.
Without objection, the Senate shall proceed to the measure.
I ask
En
unanimous.
bloc.
I ask unanimous consent that these resolutions be agreed to, the preambles be agreed to, the motions reconsider be laid on the table and blocked. There be no intervening action or debate, and any statements related to these resolutions be printed in the record at the appropriate place as if read.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to consideration H. Conres 135.
Clerk will report.
H. Conres 135, concurrent resolution authorizing the use of the rotunda of the Capitol for the presentation of the Congressional Gold Medal, and so forth.
Without objection, the Senate shall proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent that the concurrent resolution be agreed to and the motion reconsider be laid on the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to S. Conres 59.
Clerk will report.
S. Conres 59, concurrent resolution providing for a conditional adjournment or recess of the Senate and an adjournment of the House of Representatives.
Without objection. The Senate will proceed to the measure.
I ask unanimous consent that the concurrent resolution be agreed to, the motion reconsider be laid on the table. There be no intervening action or debate, and any statements relating to this matter be placed in the record as if read.
Without objection.
I understand there is a bill at the desk, and I ask for its first reading.
Clerk will read the title of the bill for the first time.
S. 3519, a bill to require sponsoring senators to pay the printing costs of ceremonial and commemorative Senate resolutions.
I now ask for a second reading in order to place the bill on the calendar, but I object under Rule 14 to my own
Objection is
request.
heard. The legislation will be read for the second time on the next legislative day.
I ask unanimous consent, notwithstanding the upcoming recess or adjournment of the Senate, the President of the Senate, the President pro tempore of the Senate, majority and minority leaders to be authorized to make appointments to the commissions, committees, boards, conferences, or interparliamentary conferences authorized by law by concurrent action of the two houses or by order of the Senate.
Without objection.
I now ask unanimous consent that notwithstanding the Senate's recess, committees be authorized to report legislative and executive matters on Tuesday, August 28th from 12 noon to 2 p.m.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that from Thursday, August 2nd through Monday, September 10th, the Majority Leader and Senators Webb, Reed of Rhode Island, Conrad, and Cardin be authorized to sign duly enrolled bills or resolutions.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent. Mr. President, we have just few more things to do. I want to just take a minute and express my appreciation, and I speak for all senators, that Ashley Mesick, who sits right here in front of us and has for a while, seven years. It's honestly, Mr. President, it seems she just came yesterday. I really mean that. You know, she has added a lot of vibrancy to this body here. She's always pleasant and nice, and she has always been available to me, even though she sits on the Republican side, and I think to everyone else. So I'm happy for her in one way. She's leaving because she fell in love and is married, and I'm very happy for her. But, Mr. President, we are really a small group of people at this front desk that do so much to make this place run properly. And even though she's been here 7 years, this will be something I'm confident that will be with her the rest of her life. And I am grateful to her for her attitude and her professionalism, and I wish her the very, very best. We've had a wonderful group of summer pages, Mr. President. I'm so glad we have these young men and women. As I've said a number of times, and I repeat tonight, 2 of my grandchildren have been pages. Wonderful, life-altering experiences for them. And so now I've had another grandchild. My grandson is one of the summer pages, and he's had a great time. So I'm glad we have the page program. They're helpful to us, and I wish them very best, and I hope their experiences are as good as my 3 grandchildren's experience. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent this, when the Senate completes its business today, it adjourn and convene for pro forma sessions only, with no business conducted on the following dates and times. And the following each pro forma session, the Senate adjourn until the next pro forma session. Friday, August 3rd at 10:15 a.m., Tuesday, August 7th at 11 a.m., Friday, August 10th at 11 a.m., Tuesday, August 14th at 2:30 p.m., Friday, August 17th at 11:30 a.m., Tuesday, August 21st at 10 a.m., Friday, August 24th at 10 a.m., Tuesday, August 28th at 2:30 p.m., Friday, August 31st at 11:30 a.m., Tuesday, September 4th at 11:30 a.m., and Friday, September 7th at 12 noon. That the Senate adjourn on Friday, September 7th until 2 p.m. on Monday, September 10th, unless the Senate has received a message from the House that is adopted as Congress 59, which is the adjournment resolution. And if the Senate has received such a message, the Senate adjourn until Monday, September 10th at 2 p.m. under the provisions of S. Congress 59. The following the prayer and the pledge adjournment proceedings be approved to date. Morning hour be deemed expired, and the time for the 2 leaders be reserved for the use later in the day. That the majority leader be recognized and senators be permitted to speak for up to 10 minutes each. And that at 5 p.m., the Senate proceed to executive session under the previous order.
Without objection.
Mr. President, if pro forma sessions are necessary, and it appear they are, the House turned down the adjournment resolution. Senators should be aware that starting Tuesday, August 7th, the pro forma sessions will be held in Hart 216 while repairs are made in the Senate chamber. The next roll call vote will be at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, September 10th on confirmation of the Rose nomination. Additionally, this evening, cloture was filed on the motion to proceed to S. 3457, the Vets Jobs Corps Act. That vote will be at 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday, September 11th. If there's no further business to come before the Senate, ask it adjourn under the previous order.
Under the previous order, the Senate stands adjourned until 10:15 a.m. tomorrow unless the Senate receives a message from the House that it has adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution 59, in which case the Senate stands adjourned until 2 p.m. on Monday, September 10th, 2012, under the provisions of Senate Concurrent Resolution 59.
In the Senate today,